right, among other highlights, Speaker Kevin McCarthy today went after Biden's regulatory anti-business crusade and says he'll address it in the debt ceiling debate. Take a listen to this, please.
But just as Reagan talked about a malaise of burdensome regulation, of inflation, of government trying to run the economy but ruining it, that is what we experience today. I'm here to tell you, I want a responsible, sensible debt ceiling. It puts us on an economic path to make America stronger. It works for every American. But that cannot happen if the president continues to ignore the problem. And he can't continue any longer.
All right, let's talk about this. Joining us now, Kentucky Congressman James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee. Mr. Comer, thank you. Welcome back. You know, just on the regulatory stuff, our friend Steve Miller was on the show Friday, and we were talking about the excesses of the EPA tailpipe regulation, okay? And Miller asked, so we're going to end the internal combustion engine. Don't you think somebody ought to take a vote on that in the House or the Senate? It's a very big thing. And then I'm sure you saw the recent editorial in the Wall Street Journal, Supreme Court decisions saying no to the Federal Trade Commission, no to the Securities Exchange Commission. They're all into overreach, and the EPA has been into overreach. And I just wonder, Mr. Chairman, can you do anything about it?
Well, thank goodness for the Supreme Court. As you know, the American people have been fighting a fourth branch of government. We all know there are only supposed to be three branches of government, but now there's a fourth, and that's the federal bureaucracy. Fortunately, we have a conservative Supreme Court that has ruled that this bureaucracy doesn't have the ability to make laws, and that's what they're doing. The way our government was set up, as you know, Larry, we're supposed to have checks and balances. There are checks and balances on the legislative, judicial, and executive branch, but there's no check and balance on this new branch of government that the Democrats have created over the past 2 decades, and that's the federal bureaucracy. So we've got a lot of lawsuits pending. There are a lot of outside groups that have a lot of lawsuits pending before the Supreme Court, and hopefully the Supreme Court can strike down all of these crazy, burdensome, unnecessary, costly regulations coming out of the Biden administration.
I know your Oversight Committee has its hands full on a lot of things, but I just wondered, will there be any time to take a look at the unconstitutional excesses of the administrative state, big government socialism, all these regulators?
Absolutely, and we're trying to put a price tag on these burdensome regulations and what exactly this is costing the American people, what this will cost the American people. We're working with other committees of jurisdiction on their oversight committees, the Energy and Commerce Committee and other committees that have an interest in energy policy and all the excessive bureaucracy that we're seeing out of this Biden administration. This administration's been hijacked by the left-wing loonies that continue to try to enact Green New Deal legislation that isn't practical, it's not doable, and it's going to cost the American taxpayers a lot of money, and even worse, it's going to put us at a further competitive disadvantage to China.
Let me switch gears. You led a delegation of your committee to the Treasury Department. You looked at it today, as I understand it, 150 suspicious activity reports. I guess this relates to the Hunter Biden business. Is there anything you can tell us about these suspicious activity reports? Did you learn things that were new?
We learned a lot that was new. The committee went there today, but I've had staff there over the past 2 weeks. There are thousands of pages of documents relating to financial transactions. And let me be very clear. This isn't just about the president's son or the president's brother. We've identified 6 new Biden family members involved in shady foreign transactions that we believe were a direct result of influence peddling. That brings the number of Biden family members now to 9 that were involved in the Biden family influence peddling, and we still have more family members that we suspect were involved. So this is a family affair. This is something that should be troubling to every American. And what we've learned from going through these records are there are a lot of additional LLCs, a lot of additional bank accounts that we didn't know prior to going to the Treasury Cabinet. So we've learned a lot. This investigation is ongoing, but I can tell you without hesitation, it's very serious, and the President of the United States is going to have a very hard time explaining how so many of his family members have received so much money from our adversaries around the world.
And these family members also passed this money up to Mr. Biden, did they not?
Well, we'll have to stay tuned on that. Obviously, this is an investigation of the President of the United States. We've talked to several of the former Biden associates. We've got bank records. We're going to get more bank records. So I think that question will be answered in due time.
Can they be subpoenaed?
Well, I've already issued 6 subpoenas to banks. I already have those bank records in hand. Now we're looking at additional banks because we've learned of new accounts and new LLCs that we didn't know existed. You know, you're a business guy, Larry. I'm a business guy. The one thing that stands out to me is how many different LLCs were involved that this family had their fingerprints on. And we really can't tell what those LLCs did other than launder deposits from our adversaries around the world back to the Bidens.
Well, I think this is big news. I think these 150 suspicious accounts and the spreading throughout more family members, I think this is very big news. So just last one, I mean, can you subpoena the family members, or is that completely off base? Or are they just protected by the Justice Department?
We're going to go where the evidence leads us. I think we all know they're very protected by the Justice Department. We're going to find out exactly how protected by the Justice Department, because there's going to get to a point very soon to where the mainstream media, as well as Merrick Garland, cannot continue to turn a blind eye to this. This is, it's strange. It's illegal. There's no laws that allow family members to profit from a high-ranking government official to the tune of what this family has done. So I think the American people deserve the truth. We're going to get to the truth. We've already gotten more information than I think the critics ever thought we would get. And this information leads to more information that we're going to continue to request. There'll be more subpoenas. And I think in due time, the American people will get the answers they deserve.
All right, Chairman James Comer. Thank you, sir.